Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to Nerdrotic. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from Nerdrotic.com, and it's been a long time since we did a Star Trek Discovery breakdown, but here we are, and just in time, because the last couple of weeks I missed were the perfect episodes to break down, because, especially last week, upon first viewing, it looks like it's a pretty decent episode. I even said that on the live stream, and I meant it at the time, but after watching it again, well, I'm going to be doing a separate video on just Spock alone, but let's break down this episode. Let's see why Star Trek Discovery has returned to form as the dumbest show on television. Because I have some making up to do, this segment is Whatever Happened To. Whatever happened to number one? Article after article was written about Rebecca Romijn and number one's return to Star Trek after 5 decades or whatever the hell it's been. Even an article that said she knows her shit. Even an article that says 4 minutes with Rebecca Romijn, which is funny because that's longer than any actual screen time she's had on this series. And let's not even talk about the big return of the Klingons and L'Rell, who's been in one episode. And then, of course, there's the fan favorite, and I mean that in the singular sense, Tig Notaro as Jet Reno. And thankfully, it has been confirmed Rainn Wilson's homicidal Harry Mudd will not be returning. I believe we should start this episode with the definition of the word logic. Reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. Let's keep that word in mind as the episode goes on. We start out the episode with, of course, the Discovery on the run. Michael Burnham is once again a traitor, and so is the rest of her crew, because this show cannot adhere to any of the Starfleet principles. Hashtag we are Starfleet. Admiral Cornwell arrives, Admiral Dumbass as I like to call her. She needs to speak to Spock. Privately, she says. Let's keep that in mind as well, as Captain Pike is telling her that she cannot trust Section 31, and she might be thinking that they are on the same team. She, of course, has to hashtag strong female in charge, cut Pike down to size by saying, "You have no idea what I'm thinking." Despite this show being centered around possibly the most unlikable lead character in the history of television, I find Admiral Cornwell the single most unlikable character in this show. She is arrogant and stupid. Then there's a quick scene with Michael Burnham and Captain Pike. She wants to prove Vok Tyler is innocent and couldn't have sabotaged the spore drive. He orders her not to, given their history. Instead, he orders her to work with her brother Spock to figure out the mystery of the Red Angel. She agrees and then says, "I'll still prove Vok Tyler innocent," directly disobeying an order, and Captain Pike just smirks. Michael Burnham interrupts the private interrogation between Admiral Cornwell and Spock, the one that Captain Pike wasn't even welcome to, and it's perfectly okay because Michael Burnham thinks he's innocent, so he must be. And we keep in mind the word logic as I try to describe the next scene to you. Admiral Cornwell, Captain Pike, and Saru are in Captain Pike's ready room looking over the data of Spock's lie detector test, which proves he is telling the truth that he was not guilty of the murders. Then Cornwell shows a video of Spock killing the 3 people at the Starbase 5 mental facility. Then we find out that despite getting this information from Section 31, Admiral Cornwell has not heard from Section 31 in weeks. So she's using information she's received from them, although she hasn't heard from them. Then we find out one of the admirals in control of Section 31 is Admiral Patal, a logic extremist. This logic extremist in charge of Section 31 has advised Starfleet to start putting all of their information into control, their artificial intelligence, which isn't fishy at all considering that they just got their asses kicked in a war, but they're completely okay with handing over their clandestine agency to somebody who is an extremist. Admiral Cornwell's logic is she couldn't inform the other admirals because it might inform Patal, so she decides to become a fugitive instead, join the Discovery, and go raid the Section 31 base and arrest Admiral Patal. Then we see Commander Airiam, who is Robot Girl, who we haven't heard much of in this season and a half of science fiction television, and who has been the most interesting looking character. I do indeed like the makeup, and she is performed very well, and she has a very good backstory. Yes, I'm saying good things, but of course this is Star Trek Discovery, and they screw it up at the end, but we find out that she is a cyborg, that she had a husband, they eloped, and then crashed in a shuttle, he died. Tilly asks her to come back and help her with some code, and she goes back. But while she's doing that, we see her deleting memories because she doesn't have an infinite amount of storage space, which will come in later. Then we have a scene with Michael Burnham and Spock staring at the Red Angel screen and trying to figure it out and arguing over what, I don't know. It's supposed to create tension. It really doesn't. The only thing that created tension for me was Michael Burnham dictating logic to Spock. She says the purpose of logic is to problem solve in an uncertain environment. Oh, that's something to really get extreme over, isn't it? Remember, the theme of my breakdown is logic, not the theme of this television show. The next scene is Captain Pike and Admiral Cornwell arriving at the Section 31 base, which is surrounded by mines. Mines are illegal, and he questions Admiral Cornwell about this. She says they weren't made by Starfleet. He isn't having it. And then he mentions that maybe she had him sit out the war, because mind you, Captain Pike and the Enterprise sat out the entire Federation Klingon War, because he would constantly be reminding her of her breaking rules. She says she had Captain Pike and Enterprise sit out the war because if they had lost, they wanted the best of Starfleet to survive. They deliberately sat out the best crew and the best starship and got their asses completely kicked because somebody like Admiral Cornwell is in charge. Considering the logic of that decision makes my brain hurt. After she tells Pike this, of course, he has to apologetically thank her, and then she says, "Get off my ass so I can get back to work. Hashtag strong female in charge." The next scene is, hey, remember Spock? Remember Spock used to play chess with Kirk? And Michael Burnham is going to play chess with Spock. And the biggest stretch of logic is they're going to play chess to try to figure out why the Red Angel came to Spock. Showing to me that the writers only have incidental knowledge of Star Trek, that they saw some clips on YouTube of Kirk and Spock playing chess, so they had to insert it in this episode. For those of you who do not think this is a bad reboot production, Spock is portrayed exactly how he is portrayed in the Star Trek J.J. Abrams films. Angry and on the verge of being psychotic. He has an argument with Michael Burnham, and we learn in this argument that the logic extremists were after Spock and not Michael Burnham. Spock, acting as the voice of the audience, sees that Michael Burnham is a little too self-centered, and we all agree with him, and I think that's why maybe some people are starting to like Spock a little bit, and hell, I like him a little bit for this too. The mystery that Michael Burnham and Spock are trying to figure out, and they spend the entire episode spinning their wheels about this, is why the Red Angel chose Spock, which we really never find out. And again, for those of you who don't think this is a bad reboot production, we are well into mystery box territory here. Commander Airiam, in the meantime, is acting very strange, and we see the Brainiac lights pop up in her eyes, and she starts downloading something, and we're not sure of. Commander Non, the security officer, encounters her downloading some information and asks her what she is up to. She said she is helping Tilly with a problem. Then she asks Non why she has that breathing apparatus on her face. We learn that it's augmentation to help her breathe in the atmosphere that humans breathe in, which isn't an odd question at all, especially when you're asking the security officer. Yes, the base is surrounded by mines, some that have these blades that can cut through the hull of a ship, and others are blackout mines that can disorient a ship. Admiral Cornwell knew this and also tells Captain Pike that they have to go through this minefield without the shields up because they can detect that and they're attracted to it, which, again, mystery box territory because this makes absolutely no sense, even with Admiral Cornwell saying she was completely aware of this. The mines attack, cutting the hull of Discovery. The most surprising thing about this episode is not that Michael Burnham offers a solution to this problem, that it wasn't the solution. It just buys them some time. She says that they should introduce some chaos because it's like a game and the mines are adapting to the Discovery's moves. Then Captain Pike has his crew make suggestions while flying through the minefield. Commander Airiam, in the meantime, sends a message, we suspect, to the Section 31 base, and the mines stop. To get the mines to stop, but nobody notices, even though Commander Non is watching her the whole time but does nothing. After the mines are stopped, we see Admiral Patel, the logic extremist, on the screen, letting the Discovery know that they are all fugitives and they're all about to be taken in, including Admiral Cornwell. And we also find out that the order to attack the Discovery with the mines came from Starfleet. Of course, the crew disobeys Patal's order to stand down, and they send an away team to the Section 31 base. And of course, they don't send any security anymore because that red shirt trope was stupid and nobody likes it at all. And they also send down the portable thumb drive that is Commander Airiam, and they do it on her suggestion. Airiam, Non, and Michael Burnham beam down to the station, and they find a bunch of frozen bodies, and they find Admiral Patal, who has been dead for over 2 weeks. Captain Pike, of course, wonders who the hell he was talking to, and it turns out it was a hologram. And it turns out the footage of Spock killing the people on the Starbase 5 mental facility was a hologram. See where they're going with this? Looks like they're working on a way to retcon the hologram out of the canon. We also find out it is Control that is manipulating all these events because it wants to learn, it wants to become conscious. But if it's not conscious, why does it want to learn? Why does it have a desire? I am not seeing the logic in this. Desire comes from a conscious being, at least that's what I think. I don't know, I am a high school dropout, but it just doesn't seem logical to me. There is a fight, Commander Airiam kicks the crap out of Non and then fights Michael Burnham and accesses Section 31's mainframe computer, where she is downloading all the information about artificial intelligence from the sphere to Control. Tilly is able to break through Commander Airiam's programming from Control with feelings and memories. And although Captain Pike asked if they could shut down Commander Airiam remotely, and they said no, and Tilly said she couldn't hack her, she was still able to send her some of her memory. Again, I would like to bring up logic, but why bother at this point? Commander Airiam asks Michael to shoot her out the airlock. Michael refuses. Commander Non ends up having to do it, but not before Airiam tells Michael Burnham, "It's because of you." And this comes again as a surprise to no one, as I think the Red Angel is Michael Burnham, and it was established last episode that we are possibly in a different timeline. I think we are, because Michael Burnham was supposed to die, and the Red Angel came to Spock, and Spock saved Michael Burnham. I believe this gives us the false hope that maybe if you erase Michael Burnham from this current timeline, it would reset the Star Trek canon back to normal and explain why Spock never mentioned Michael Burnham before, but we know it's not going to be that easy. The final scene is Commander Airiam in space looking at the memory of her walking on the beach with her fiance before she shuts down. That's where the episode ends. So many questions to things I don't care about. Before Commander Airiam was launched out the airlock by Non, and after she said, "It's all because of you, Michael," she mentions Project Daedalus, or as somebody kindly put it in my live chat, Project Debbie Does Dallas. Daedalus was a craftsman and an artist in Greek mythology who has 2 sons, Icarus and Lapix. He is known as the creator of the Labyrinth, a huge maze located under the court of King Minos of Crete, where the Minotaur, a half-man, half-bull creature, dwelt. I certainly have a feeling that we are going to be going into different timelines, and we might find out that Star Trek Discovery is in a different timeline, and I think this would actually help the series and also prove Midnight's Edge's theory that this was indeed not Star Trek original canon, but Star Trek Prime canon, which it turns out the Picard series is going to be in as well. And we know the owners of this series say this is canon. Well, it's their canon, so I certainly won't argue with them there, but this still is not Star Trek. We have had a portrayal of Spock full of anger, crying, smashing chess sets. This portrays him exactly how he was portrayed in the J.J. Abrams films. Either they don't know how to portray Spock, or they have to portray Spock differently. I'm not sure, and I don't really care at this point. This show definitely took another step back, and even though this was directed by the great Jonathan Frakes, and I'll say the great Jonathan Frakes, despite the fact that he had to direct this in the aesthetic of Star Trek Discovery, I will say they have calmed down on moving the camera as much as possible. This still is centered too much on an unlikable character, Michael Burnham. It has unlikable characters like Admiral Cornwell, who I can't stand, and it keeps undercutting the good characters like Saru, who doesn't get much time anymore, or Captain Pike, who is played well by Anson Mount, but he doesn't get the writing. There are decent characters, and they just killed off Commander Airiam, who had a decent arc, but it was in just 1 episode. Her backstory was very interesting and something that they could have played with over the course of seasons, but I don't think this series has seasons left. I think it's got one more, and that's it. This is such a schizophrenic series. It introduces characters and completely forgets about them for long periods of time. It introduces too many storylines. When they eventually get paid off, you hardly notice it, or it's an illogical mess. The only people left talking about this show is those of us who are criticizing it. Even when I put out my last lawsuit video, I didn't even get the same 5 STD trolls who've been coming at me with 8 followers on Twitter each. By the way, some of the content from this series might have been stolen from our friend Anas Abdeen, creator of the game Tardigrades. I wonder if they ever make a Spock action figure for this series, if he'll come with crying action or chest smashing action. But shows require viewers to have toys made for them. The one thing I did find out is some people at CBS are watching these videos. Hello, hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, and may the small folks sing songs of your greatness. # tears, science, and friendship.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.